Welcome to day 3 of the Django Absolute Beginner to Pro course, where we build a complete blog application. Today, we are diving into the art of Django. Yes, the MVT architecture, the system that connects data, logic, and display. By the end of this video, you will understand the Django model view template architecture. You will understand how Django processes a request using the MVT architecture. You will also learn how to create a model to store data. So basically, we are going to create a blog post model. You will write a view to process and fetch data. You will create a template to display data in the browser. So, what is MVT architecture? Imagine you walk into a restaurant and place an order. In order to work on this order, the kitchen stores the ingredients. And with this, the chef takes these ingredients and prepares the food, okay? It's like processing the raw data. And finally, the chef uses the plates to present the food to you, okay? So in Django, the model is the database structure, and this is where data is defined and stored. Today, we will create a simple blog post model. The view is where the logic lives. We will write a view that fetches the blog post we created, okay? So it's going to fetch the blog post from the kitchen. The template is simply the HTML file that renders data dynamically, okay? So basically, today we will create a blog post and we will write a view that fetches this blog post and send them to the template, okay? So this is where we left this project in the second video, which is the day 2. In order to create a model, let's go to our app, okay? So our app is this blog, and inside this blog app, let's click on models. Here you will see this particular file, models.py, okay? This is where data lives, okay? Now we want to create a blog post model. A Django model is simply a class. So here we say class blog posts, and this class subclasses the django.db.models.model. Okay, you will understand this in details very soon. So we say that this class, this particular class, subclasses models.model. Okay, and this models is coming from django.db, and that is why we say that this particular class subclasses django.db.models.model. Okay, good. This model has a number of class variables, and each of these class variables represents a database field in the model. The name of the first field we are going to add is going to be title, okay? And we say that title is equal to models.char field. So here we are going to use this char field. And this here actually tells Django what type of data this particular field holds, okay? And this character field is an instance of a field class. And this particular character field has a required argument, okay? In this case, we will need to pass the mass length. And here, let's simply say 200. For the title. Next, we are going to add another field, and we call this content. This should be equal to models dot. Here we are going to use the text field. And the next one is going to be the author, and this should be equal to models dot. Let's also use the character field. And here we need to pass the mass length, and let's set this to 100. Okay. And finally, we want to add the date field. This should be models.date field. Okay, great. And next, we are going to add a special method. Okay, so remember this Python special method, the __ string. And here we simply return self.title. Okay, Okay, in this case, this Python special method simply tells Django how to represent the blog post model instance as a string. Okay, we will talk more on this later. So this particular title field is going to represent a short description of our blog post, and this will be the full blog post content, the actual blog post content. This is the name of the writer, and this will represent the date that blog post was curated. Okay, so this is going to be our model for now. Once you save this file, the next thing we want to do is to set up the database table, and we do this by making a migration. Okay, so open your terminal. Once you open your terminal, pay attention to this. We are not currently in our virtual environment. Remember, we've been working on a virtual environment. So the first thing to do here is to simply move to our virtual environment. And on Mac, we simply use source and the name of the virtual environment. So here we said virtual env, then /bin/activate. Okay. And now we are currently in our virtual environment. If you're on Windows, just type the name of the virtual environment. Okay. Once you enter the name of your virtual environment, you now use /script/activate. Okay. We've done this several times. That also will take you to your virtual environment. And now, once you are inside this virtual environment, we need to navigate to our project. So we say cd blog project, hit enter. Now we are currently in our blog project. Great. So what we want to do now is to actually tell Django to set up the kitchen for us. Okay, we tell Django to set up the database table, and we do this by simply running migration. So here we can say Python manage.py make migrations. Okay, so you type Python manage.py make migrations, hit enter. Great. And here, look at this place. Here you see this create model blog post, which is exactly what we have here. Okay, now that we have our database table, we need to apply the schema changes to the database. And we simply do this by saying Python manage.py migrate. Okay, hit enter. Good. Why do we need Python manage.py migrate? The make migration is like preparing the kitchen layout. Okay, once you migrate is like installing the equipment. Now our kitchen is ready to store data. The database is ready to store all this field. Okay, so now we can store a complete post. Okay, a post that will have the title, content, author, and date into our database. And remember, for now, we are using the default DB that Django has for us, which is the SQLite. Okay, later we will see how to configure Django to actually use a database like MySQL or PostgreSQL. Okay, good. Now we can close this terminal. Okay, and close this file. Great. We have curated a model. The next thing we need to do is to register this model. And to register our model, let's go to our app. Okay, so we go to our app. Remember, we created this model inside this blog app. Go back here. This is our model. So now let's register the model inside this app. So first, let's go to admin.py. We want to register this model inside this admin file to make the model available in the admin panel. Okay, so Django gives us access to a special admin panel. We will understand what an admin panel is and what it is used for very soon. But for now, let's actually register this model in this admin file. Okay, so by default, you see that admin is imported from django.contrib. Next, let's actually import one more thing. and that is going to be the model we just created. So we simply say from dot models, okay, import blog post. Okay, if you click on this, you simply see that this here is the blog post model we just created. Okay, I hope you understand this. And to register this model, all we just have to do is to call the admin.sites.register. Okay, and here we need to pass the blog post. So we register the blog post model, save this file, and we are done with this. The next step is to now create an account. So we want to create an account in order to access this special admin panel. Okay, so we want to create an account, and to create a super user account we need to use the terminal. So let's open back our terminal. First, let's clear this, and here we simply say python manage.py create super user. Hit enter. This creates a super user to access the admin panel. Here you can add a username. For me, I'm going to say Grace. Then add email address. This is optional actually. Next, simply add password, and I'm going to add my password. Okay, hit enter. Repeat the password, and in my case you can see this red text, and this is because the password I use is too similar to the username. I don't want to bypass the password validation, so I'm going to hit no and enter another password. Okay, great. Now you see super user created successfully. Good. Now let's clear this terminal, and it is time to actually run the server. So we want to see what we've done. Remember, we created a model and we registered this model in this admin file, and we created a super user account in order to access the special Django admin panel. Now let's run our server, and to run this server we simply use python manage.py run server. Good. And here you see starting development server at localhost port 8000. So remember, you can actually copy this and paste it in your web browser, or you directly click on this. Okay, so in order to see the admin panel, simply come to this place, and here type /admin. Okay, hit enter. Great. Remember, we created an account. Okay, so enter your own username. For me, it is Grace. Then enter your password and login. Great. So here, this is the special admin panel that Django has for us. And look at this place. Here we have our blog posts. You can actually click on this blog post, or you can use this to actually add the first blog post. Okay, I hope you understand everything to this point. Please, if you have any question, just drop your question in the comment section and I will answer you immediately. Okay, good. And if you are a little bit confused, please pause this video and try repeating what we've done. Pause this video. You don't have to rush through. The beauty is to master this and be able to build any project on your own and get a great job. Okay, so pause the video and check what we've done. Okay, great. So let's actually use this opportunity to create our first blog post. I can simply say learning Django MVT. Okay, and for the content I will say Django is a powerful framework for building web applications. Today we are learning how to connect models, views, and templates to display data dynamically in the browser. Okay, and for the author, let's simply say Grace. Okay, and the date should be today, the time now, and here we can simply save. Okay, so if you want to add more, click on save and add another. And if you want to edit this post, you can use save and continue editing. But for now, I will simply save this post. Okay, so here you see that the blog post learning Django MVT, which is the title, was added successfully. Great. now that our model has some data, let's actually see how we can process and display this data. Okay, so let's go back to our code editor and let's close this terminal. Great, you can close this particular file. Okay, so now we have data. How do we actually display this data? So first, let's go back to the views. So remember the explanation on this particular view. So initially in these views, we returned just this text. Okay, if you go back to the web page, let's open another tab. Okay, so you can copy this and paste that here. Hit enter. Remove this particular admin part. Okay, just stop at port 8000. You see this particular data. But now, instead of seeing just this data, we want to see the blog post we just created. Okay, so we are going to remove this here. Okay, so we don't want to display this for now. We are going to remove this. I am not going to delete this. Instead of that, I am simply going to comment this out. Okay, now let's see how we can display the data coming from the database. First, we need access to the blog post. So the first thing we are going to do is to bring in this blog post here. So we simply say from .models, okay, import blog posts. This particular models is this one here, and inside this we have the blog post. That is exactly what we are importing here. If you click on this, you see this. Okay, clear? I hope you understand that. Great. Now that we have this blog post, let's actually create a variable called post, and let this be equal to blog post, which is this particular blog post dot objects dot all. Okay, so here we are fetching all the posts in this particular model. Instead of just returning a plain text, we now want to return render. Okay, so we are going to be using this special render function, and this function is coming from Django.shortcut. Okay, so this must be imported from Django.shortcut. This function expects some important things. Okay, so the first one is the request. This particular request, let's pass that request. So here we say blog, and inside this blog we want the index.html file. You will understand this in a moment. Okay, and next we are going to pass this particular post, and we are going to be passing this post as a dictionary. Okay, so here let's say post, and it is this post here. Okay, post. Let's save this particular file. Here we are actually sending this data to a template. Okay, so the view takes the data, process the data, and it is sending the data to the template. But now we don't have a template, so that is what we are going to do next. To create a template inside our blog app, we need to add a particular folder, and this folder is called templates. Okay, templates. Hit enter. Inside this template, we are going to create another folder, and this is going to be called blog. Hit enter. Now inside this blog folder, we'll add a file, and we call this file index.html. I hope you understand this. And this index.html is just simply HTML file. So first, let's use the shortcut. We can use the shortcut to generate HTML boilerplate. So simply press the exclamation mark and hit enter. Okay, so now we have HTML boilerplate. Let's change the title to blog post. And inside the body, let's simply enter H1. And for this H1, let's say my blog post. So after the H1, let's add a div. And inside this div, let's add an unordered list to display all our posts. For now, we only added one. So if you have 2, 3, 4, or 5, we are going to display everything at once. Okay, so let's use the HTML on other list elements. Pay attention to this. In Django, a template is simply a text file. In this case, it's HTML file. And this template can contain variables, okay? So it makes it very easy for us to work with HTML and a mix of Python code. These templates can contain variables which get replaced with values when the template is evaluated. Inside this template, we can also use what we call tags. And these tags actually control the logic of the templates. We are going to explain this line by line later. But for now, we are going to add a tag. And a tag is just something like this, okay? Something of this form. So we have these curly brackets. Then this percentage sign, okay, so something like this. And inside this place now, we can now write a Python for loop. So here we simply say for posts, in posts, we want to display a list, okay? Inside each list, we want to have one H2, and now we can use another feature from Django template language. And this here is called a variable. We can now pass posts.title. Okay, next let's add a paragraph, and we are going to use a variable which is posts.content. Let's add another paragraph, and here let's use the strong HTML tags to show that this particular text here is very important. And in this case, we are simply going to say author. And after this strong element, let's now add a variable, and here we say post.author. And finally, we can use the small tags to add published on. So now we can add the dates. Okay, so we simply say post.date. Great. Next, we need to close this tag. Okay, so this is like opening the tag. And next, we need to add the closing part for that particular tag. So here we simply do the same thing, okay? And inside this place, we simply say end for, and let's save this file. As simple as this. As simple as this. If you are totally new to Django, this might look confusing, but believe me, you will understand and master this very soon, okay? Okay, so we have created a template. And remember what we did before now. We changed this view to actually use these templates, okay? Inside that template folder, we have blog, okay? We have blog, and inside our blog, we have index.html. That is exactly what we are using here. And in this view, okay, we are sending this post to the template. That is why in the template, we have access to this particular post. This post here is coming from this view, okay? It is coming from this particular view, okay? So let's go to our web page and actually check what we've done. Let's go back to the terminal, and here in the terminal, you see that the server is actually still running, okay? So you can close this and go back to the web page. If you go back to the web page, you can click on this refresh in case you still see the old data, or you can simply stop this using Ctrl+C, okay? Let's clear this, and you can actually rerun the server. Once you rerun the server, go back to the page, and here you see the blog post. This is very great because this here is the data coming from the database, okay? This is exactly what we added from the admin panel. Congratulations. Now you understand how model, view, and templates communicate, okay? We created a model, registered this model, created a super user account, accessed the special Django admin panel, updated the view to make use of the data coming from the database, send it to the template, and from the template, we paint and display this information in the web browser. I am super proud of you, and I am going to pause here in this video for you to actually try repeating everything we've done. You can add another blog post, go back to this admin panel, and play with the admin panel, because now you can do a whole lot from this admin panel. You can decide to edit this data, delete it, add more. Okay, so you can do a whole lot. You can click on any of these default models and see how they work. And most importantly, I want you to go to the Django documentation. Okay, so simply type Django doc, click on this first option, go through this documentation. Reading the documentation will really help you when you start working as a developer, or if you're already working as a developer. You see that the documentation is actually part of us. You have to learn how to read the documentation. It is not just enough to watch tutorial video. It is more helpful to actually go a step further to check the documentation yourself and build the habit of reading the documentation. Please, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please do not forget to do so. Also, like and share this video. See you in the next video, and one love.